A while back, family, Do David introduced me to me and Nasik, I believe, at the same time to a writer called Joseph Chilton Pierce. Joseph Chilton Pierce. And he's the author of several books that were very much essential in developing my consciousness at that point. Now, I'll say that the time period now I see was somewhere around 2011, 2011, 2010, somewhere
Right.
around that area.
Mm-hmm.
The book that he introduced us to was several, but the two main books that I remember reading and studying very much. The first is called The Biology of Transcendence. The
Right.
Biology of Transcendence, a blueprint of the human spirit by Joseph
Right.
Hilton Pierce. And Pierce, if you're taking notes, is Pearce. It's spelled like that. And another book that I read and studied by him was The Crack in the Cosmic Egg. The Crack in the Cosmic Egg. And, you know, I have the book in my hand and I'm just, leafing through it now and looking at the notes that that I have inserted in and uh, but it talked about Nasi, the blueprint of the human spirit. And that led us at the same time to look at power versus force, which is a map of human consciousness.
Right.
It is a map of consciousness um, by David R. Hawkins. And again, this was a book that we studied and dissected, and it really aided us in the initial stages of our ascension as far as consciousness is concerned. And now, see,
Right.
I remember those conversations that we had, you know, uh, at that time, and those were really fundamental. They were really fundamental in leading us where we are today. So we are
Absolutely.
we are beginning to make a full circle now back to these things that were essential, and they laid the groundwork. And this is going to give us, family, I want you all to really focus in now. This is going to take us back to the Genesis beginnings, all right? And
Mm-hmm.
what I want us to understand is that we are currently in a Genesis beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We are currently in a Genesis beginning. But now, see, we didn't have the proper understanding of
Right. Right.
what that Genesis process, so-called creative process, was all about at that time.
Right. Right.
So we are going to circle back to it, family, and I'm going to read from a document that I that I uh, formulated on the on July the 31st of 2013. And it was so significant. The insight, the inspiration, the epiphany was so significant, Amaria, that I wrote it down. I made specific note of it. and I didn't know what I was doing then, but it was for this moment in time. You all remember, we just passed the 30. We're just a few days past the 31st of July.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say we are right on time. But now see, our spiritual vision has been restored.
Right. Right.
Our energetic insight has been established. And, to the point where we can go back and revisit this. I have up on the screen a chapter from the book Biology of Transcendence. This is the PDF. And I will include the portion of this in our notes, all right, for today. This particular portion is called The Resurrection of Eve. Do not allow this title to throw you off, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Because based on what we've learned about Eve, it seems inconsistent with that, but that's all right. We are not using these individuals as experts, Nasi.
Right.
They're mere custodians. And you're going to see as we go along with this that they can see into this thing intellectually only so far. But it is up to us, the sons and daughters of light, the sons and daughters of darkness, the star people, to interpret these things. The quote that you see by William Blake, however, is very appropriate. Is very appropriate, and we're going to go into that. The quote is this, and again, I'll include all of this in the notes. Error is created. Error is created. It is burned up the moment men cease to behold it. Error is created. It is burned up the moment men cease to behold it. Now, two basic things that we must understand. The one, where attention goes, energy flows. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once I cease to pay attention to something, I cease to give it energy and it ceases to exist. Now, this is going right along with what Nasi told us, what he laid down in the formula to strengthen and weaken at the same time.
Right.
All right, follow me here. So when I cease to pay attention to something, I cease to give it energy. And when I cease to give it energy, it weakens.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately it disappears, it dissipates, it burns up. Are you all with me?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that we must keep in the forefront of our awareness. The second thing refers to the first part of this statement. Error is created. So remember, all of this is related to the Genesis. So when was error created in the Genesis?
Right. Right.
We all know this. We all know this. Error was created when the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters and not the fire.
Mm.
Does
Mm-hmm.
anybody on this call not know what I'm
Absolutely.
referring to.
Right.
Absolutely.
Shouldn't be one person on this call
Right.
that does not
Yes.
comprehend what I'm referring to. So
Right.
I really don't have to go into detail about this. Now, see, because again, we have we have reached a point in our understanding, a point in our conscious development, a point in our vibratory frequency that we should possess this not perfect understanding of this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Family, not everybody has this understanding of this. I'm telling you all, we are the first fruits. We are the Marines, family. We the ones that
Yeah.
hit the beach first. That's what we volunteered for. We are the he goats and the she goats before the flock. Are you all with me?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
So we perfectly understand that when the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, an error was purposefully created,
Right.
willfully, not see, with intent
Absolutely, Eitai.
to create
Absolutely.
error, to create an error. And then things began to separate and become divided into polarities, into dualities,
Yes.
All out of wholeness. Right.
all out of
Yes.
wholeness. We emanated from wholeness into division
Right.
purposefully
Mm-hmm.
and impacted upon the waters and not the fire, creating what? An error, a flaw
There it
Mm-hmm.
is. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
would emanate and resonate through everything that was created.
Yes.
Right.
That was a result. So we understand now perfectly that the error is created and it is burnt up the moment men cease to behold it. So we are beholding things, family, not as men, not as women, not
Right.
as human,
Right.
but we
Mm-hmm.
have to shift our attention from the era of duality and diversity
Come on, Eitai.
to the organic reality of wholeness, oneness.
That's it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
it.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I'm going to read to you because the portion that we are going to look at begins here in the fourth full paragraph of the chapter, The Resurrection of Eve. All right. And I'm going to go back to a specific note that I made to myself. It was so powerful, family. You know, I'm in the university at this time, July 31st of 2013. The best thing, Nasik, that ever happened to me. Family getting incarcerated for that little 2.5 year cup of coffee. The very best thing that ever happened to me. Going in, I had the rudiments, the fundamentals of all these things, Nasik, that we had been discussing.
Right, Eitai.
I didn't go in there empty
Mm-hmm.
handed. The first
Mm-hmm.
book, the first books that I requested, The Biology of Transcendence, Cracking the Cosmic Age, Power versus Force, all of the books, and even more, all of the books, Nasik, that we have been looking at, that we have been studying up to that point. And family, this is the basis, the reason why we're circling back. This is the basis, it formed the basis of this ascension knowledge that we are sharing with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going back to view it with new eyes. But this was a seminal moment here And I'm looking at my handwritten notes now, family, from that time period. And I have written down Yom Revi'i 07/31/13. And I write around lunchtime, a bit after, I was reading the the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Buddhist or Hindi so-called Bible, but it is actually a narrative, an allegorical narrative, family, of the war between our two natures. All right, within the dualistic realms. I was reading this book, studying that, beginning at the beginning of the fourth chapter, called Wisdom in Action, and my attention was drawn to the seventh and eighth verses. They state thusly: whenever Dharma, now Dharma is the concept of wholeness, all right? It is a Hindi term that is equivalent to the word echad, all right? Echad, which is what Yeshua said when he was asked what was the greatest of all the commandments. Shema Israel, all right? Yahuwah, your God, is what? Echad, one.
Mm-hmm.
Wholeness, echad. So dharma and echad, wholeness, one, oneness, are the same term. Whenever dharma declines, now we know dharma, wholeness, declined when, family? When the Spirit of God impacted or moved upon the face of the waters, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So wholeness entered into what? Duality, and created an error. So when dharma, wholeness, declines and the purpose of life is forgotten. Now remember, we've been talking about purpose, intent, the divine purpose, intent, and will that you came in here with. When we entered into this decline of wholeness or dharma or ichad, oneness, purpose was forgotten, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It says, whenever dharma declines and the purpose of life is forgotten, I, Krishna, manifest myself in the earth. Now, if you're taking notes, write down Krishna, Krishna, Krishna slash Christ. Same thing. Now, see, we're going to break this down now.
Absolutely. Come on. Come on.
We got perfect comprehension of this at this point. Not saying we can't go higher, but for now, we got it.
We got it. We got it.
I, Krishna, Christ, manifest myself on earth. I am born in every age. Listen to that. Every age, every generation, he's born. Not just one time. Now, see, like
Mm-hmm.
we've been deceived to believe,
Absolutely.
but in every age, this energetic aspect of Krishna or Christ is born to protect the good and to destroy evil. The good is what? Divinity. Evil
Yep.
is humanity. And to reestablish dharma or wholeness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read it again. Whenever dharma,
Mm-hmm.
wholeness, declines and the purpose of life is forgotten, I, Krishna, Christ, manifest myself on earth. I am born in every age to protect the good and to destroy evil and to reestablish wholeness. To reestablish wholeness. Again, you're going to get all of this in the notes, but pay particular attention. Keep that in the forefront of your mind. So when I read that and was contemplating on that, it sent me to the biology of transcendence. Now, see, the book that I had, I said,
Right.
this sounds an awful lot like something that I read. And the funny thing is, now see, I had lent the book to somebody.
Uh-huh.
So, I had to get the book back and search through the book. And when I searched through the book, I came to page 244 in my book. And this paragraph, listen very carefully, family, because they were peeking into some things that we have full vision on right now. And
Okay.
you all will see. Nobelist, this is Nobel Peace Prize winner Ilya Prigogine, the Belgian chemist, listen, suggested that a system in balance and functioning well is difficult to change. Meditate on that.
Mm.
A
Mm.
system that is imbalanced and functioning well is difficult to change. When we first emanated in here, family, the system
Yeah.
that was created was more imbalanced and functioning much better than it is now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
Would you all agree with me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But as the system falls into disorder or duality and diversity, now see,
There you go.
change becomes more and more feasible and
Mm-hmm.
finally inevitable. You reach a point in disillusion where you get so far down, family, the only way is up,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
back from where you came from. So
Right.
this explains, family, what we've been talking about all the time, that this was
Yeah.
a controlled fall. It was a controlled demolition. It was a controlled devolution. And as this system and as we disintegrated gradually but continuously, change was becoming paradoxically more feasible.
Yeah.
So our ancestors had to do what? Lock us into the fall
Wow.
by various degrees and measures,
Yes.
strategies, and tactics. We can't give this to the aberrant man. He
Right.
was created as one of those tactics to ensure that we didn't change or we didn't affect this controlled demolition, this
Mm-hmm.
controlled disintegration, this controlled fall. Are you all with me?
Okay.
Yes.
At the inevitable point, the least bit of coherent order can bring to order the whole disorderly array. All we had to do, family, was to, and our ancestors knew it, was to access this knowledge that would give us at least just a little bit of coherent order, a
Yes.
little idea, Nasik, of wholeness, of Dharma.
Yeah. That's all.
And it would what? It would have reversed the whole disorderly array. It would have reversed that controlled fall. We would have resurrected.
Yeah.
But it would have been premature, family.
Gang.
So all of these tactics and measures and strategies had to be enacted by our ancestors, including, Nasi, the drastic decision to create the aberrant man,
Yeah.
to oppose our rise.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all with me now?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Eitai, what the aberrant man had to do, his role was to be the chastising element for the simulated reality, because they say that the elements are in the earth, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Mm-hmm.
Had to be
they
the
Mm-hmm.
had
guardian,
to be
had to be the
created.
guardian and protector of that, Nasi.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Crystal clear.
Are you all seeing this?
Mm-hmm.
At the inevitable point, which we hadn't reached yet, the least bit of coherent order could bring to order the whole disorderly array. In other words, reverse the fall, reverse the decline. Which direction the change takes depends on the nature of the chaotic attractor that lifts the chaos into its new order. Write the word chaotic attractor down. Chaotic attractor. It says which direction the change takes depends on the nature of the chaotic attractor that lifts the chaos into its new order, which is a variation on our old friend, the model imperative. We won't get into the model imperative right now, but we'll circle back to it, all right? If that
Right.
chaotic, if that chaotic attractor is itself demonic, now let's stop. What do they mean by demonic?
Mm-hmm.
Insert the word human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Insert the word human slash dualistic. That's the only evil thing to divinity. Humanism and dualism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, family, if the chaotic attractor is human or dualistic, the old dualistic cycle simply repeats itself. Our
Mm-hmm.
ancestors knew this.
Mm-hmm.
If that chaotic attractor is itself demonic or human or dualistic, the old cycle simply repeats itself, which seems to have been historically the case for our species. So, listen, family, what I just read you there is what we went over yesterday, talking about the principle of sympathy. The principle of sympathy. Do you all remember that in the notes? You'll get them, though. Do you all remember us going over this?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. The principle of sympathy, it says that Egyptian magicians, these are our ancestors now,
Yes.
summoned the power of Heka through the use of sacred words, images, and rituals. Now see, I'm going to go through what they did with Noah Webster relative to these words and images. Noah Webster, the creator of the Webster's Dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
Now see, we got him. We got him. We were the creators of language, family,
Gang.
and we gave this knowledge of the language, we gave them custody of it, told them how to use it against us.
Come on, Eitai.
To keep us what? In this process of disillusion, in this process of disintegration, in the process of the fall or the descent. Listen, using the principle of sympathy, like affecting like, they didn't attempt to do that. Now, see, they did this. They
Right.
influenced the course of the cosmos through magic, circumventing the ordinary laws of cause and effect. Now, what I just showed you here was the principle of sympathy, that if the attractor, if the chaotic attractor is applied, Nasik, and it's like the cycle that we're going through, decline, duality, is simply going to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like affects like. Like causes produce like effects. So the cause of the fall was duality. If the attractor is dual, if it's human, it's simply going to repeat the cycle. That's the magic that our forefathers instituted, initiated in the fall. And they had to make sure, Nasi, that a contrary attractor pattern or attractor, chaotic attractor, did not arise, that we would not apply that, because it will reverse the process. Are you all with me now?
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
If that chaotic attractor is itself dualistic or demonic, the old cycle simply repeats itself, which seems to have been the case historically for our species. But if the chaotic attractor, listen, family, is benevolent or divine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on,
we gotta make
shows.
the switch, family, from
Yes,
human
sir.
thought and perception to divine thought and perception.
Mm-hmm.
If the chaotic attractor were benevolent or divine, the new order would have to be of that same nature.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
A positive outcome should have occurred 2 millennia ago. Pause.
Mm-hmm.
2,000 years ago, family, is the creation of Christ,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is a variation of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Follow along with me now.
Come on. Come on, Eitai.
Now, see, we've established this prophetic timeline perfectly. Our ancestors gave it to us perfectly.
Yes, it did. Yes, they did.
Now, see, can we gonna revisit Descartes and the Cartesian split?
There you go.
The Cartesian split, which was part of this.
Absolutely.
But if the chaotic attractor were benevolent or divine, this switch would take place, and the new order would have to be that same nature, like affecting like. Now, see, the
Right.
principle of sympathy. A positive outcome should have occurred 2 millennia ago, but our ancestors short stopped that
Right.
by the invention of this Christ character and the religion that attended it.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Oh,
Absolutely. Come on, shows.
absolutely on the money.
Yes.
But perhaps, listen what he says, but perhaps they guessing, Nasik, but we know, we've stated this over and
Yeah.
over again. the collapse and chaos at that time weren't thorough enough. What have we been teaching?
Mm-hmm.
As our history since then has shown, we had even further to sink before a real bottoming out. And this just might be the time. I'm not guessing. We're not.
Right.
Right. Right. Come on. That's right.
The first thing, family, that our ancestors gave us, put in our possession, I see, was this prophetic framework, this
That's
timeline of events. And we've been fitting all of this knowledge into it, painting by the numbers, putting the puzzle pieces together, now see, based on this big image, big picture that we were given
it.
at the start. So we right here, family. We're circling back
Right.
to this. I'm going to read what I wrote down immediately after I copied this down from the book. See, somebody had borrowed the book. So I said, well, let me get the book back and copy this down. I'm carrying y'all back with me to
Mm-hmm.
around this same time 5 years ago. And so I copied it down word by word, and I said, compare to Genesis 1 through 5. Well, what did we just do?
Wow.
This is not me, family. Trust me, this is not me. This is the ancestors.
Yes.
Have I not been saying that all along?
Yeah, we've been taking.
Absolutely. So,
Verification and confirmation.
That's correct. That's correct. So I wrote this down. Compared to Genesis 1 through 5, especially verses 1 through 4. Key creative elements. And I have Dharma, what they call in the Bhagavad Gita as Dharma, is actually Echad in Hebrew. Oneness, unity, wholeness. That is that we must begin there, family. We must begin
Must.
there. Now, Seeker, we don't know what's going on.
Absolutely.
And people, I know, now see that when you bring up, you keep emphasizing this duality, and they getting aggravated.
They get aggravated. That's a fact.
They get irritated because they cannot see this.
Right.
Can't understand why do you keep emphasizing this? It's a key element. This is what we are ascending to. We are ascending out of duality and back
Absolutely.
into wholeness. This is why we keep emphasizing it. Don't get irritated. Don't get aggravated.
right.
Understand it and then incorporate it, and everything will fall together. Trust me. So Dharma equals Ichad, which equals oneness and unity, which is Nasi, the supreme commandment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The supreme commandment under which all things fall.
Right.
That's why when Yeshua the Christ was asked, what is the greatest and first among all of the commandments? That divinity is what? Echad, Dharma, whole.
That's what he said.
So these polarities had to be created, evening and morning, light being divided into darkness. Do y'all see that? God divided the light and
Yes.
from the darkness and called the light day and the darkness night. Evening and morning was the first day. That was the first that was the first yuga, the first age,
Right.
where family we were more energetic than we were physical or material, where um, the system was Nasik more imbalanced and functioning better than it is now.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
easy to understand, family. Y'all have to be confident that our ancestors are teaching us.
Yes. Yes.
They're guiding us. So I go on to write, immediately my thoughts were drawn to, okay, all right, I'll get to that later, what my other note here, but I'll continue. And this is again in my handwriting. Immediately, my thoughts were drawn to the book of Genesis, specifically the first 5 verses of chapter 1. We've already gone um, over that. For quite some time, I have intuitively felt and even stated and formally taught that the event being detailed there was less the primordial process of the creation of the heavens and earth, and more of a process of restoration, resurrection, reclamation. Remember, when it states in the Gita, whenever Dharma declines and the purpose of life is forgotten, I, Krishna, manifest myself on earth. I am born in every age, or Nasik, every beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was not
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, it was a beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning.
This is, Abba taught us that. That foundation was
Yes.
laid for all of us.
Yes. Yes.
So, I am born in every age to protect the good and destroy the evil and reestablish wholeness. All right? So, we know from our understanding now that Nasik, it was not the time to create
Right.
wholeness again.
Right. Yes.
Had not bottomed out.
Look, family, Christ ain't show up to the New Testament.
Right.
Later on in the process. So this is, I'm telling you, this is so powerful here. So when we read the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, family, we know everything that was a result of that was error,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
was duality, and was what, Nasik? As a result, destined to disintegrate, destined to fall
Destined.
until it had bottomed out. Now we have reached this process of bottoming out. And we go back to this quote by William Blake. Error is created. It was created in the Genesis beginning when the spirit impacted upon the water. So now we understand that when we have reached bottom and we are ready to um, ascend, Nasi, we have to abandon this human aspect of human
Yeah.
thought, this demonic, what is referred to as this demonic chaotic attractor, put it down
Right.
and cease to behold the error, cease to
Right.
behold duality, and view
Absolutely.
everything through the lens of wholeness, which is our divinity.
If that don't happen, there ain't nothing going to take place on your behalf.
You gonna come right back around and try it,
That's right. Right.
and try it again after you have exited out the back door.
Right. Right. Right.
Eitai,
Yes.
could we say that we can pinpoint where we bottom out with the transitioning of Abba?
You know, I haven't given that much thought, but I know, brother, I know what you're saying. That was
Hmm.
tremendously significant.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I mean, you're right. And you know, Nasik and I have talked about this. That should have inspired everyone
Yes.
to go back and re-examine
Mm-hmm.
what it
Mm-hmm.
Only
was that we had learned, and to understand that a change was necessary
right.
Yes. Yes.
and would be inevitable.
Yeah.
I
And
see what you're saying,
and
brother.
and Etad, we just read about, the author talked about 2 millennia. The marriage of the Lamb was 2000.
Correct.
So again, I think that for us, the bottoming out was the transitioning of Abagadol, because then our whole perception had to shift.
We
Everything had to shift.
we
Everything
had
had
to
to shift.
shift.
Absolutely.
We had to shift because and Nasik, we're going to I really like that, Malkiel, because where we're going, we're gonna focus in now on the physical body as well,
Mm-hmm.
the physical body, and we're going to circle back to another book that was really significant, and that really attaches what we are learning right now, um, relative to these emotions as
Mm-hmm.
indicators and as essential um, to the ascension process, Nasi, this dynamic energy, indicators of where your energy is at, what manner
Yeah.
Yes.
of energy,
Yes.
what vibrational frequency you're on. So, um,
That
man,
is very important, because if your dynamic energy have not reached a certain level, then there's nothing to sustain
that's
even higher levels. That's when you'll bottom out again, so to speak.
that's
Yes.
correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, this is that portion, family, um, that I wrote, and I began the initial work, and I'm looking at, family, about I mean, my notes are my handwritten notes here are about an inch and a half thick. So this is where the ancestors were laying down the foundation of this,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to read through all of that, but we're going to, we don't have to, because we've already laid that foundation down in these, you know, months and months and weeks of classes that we have been doing almost on a daily basis. So the other book that is going to attach what we just went over from the biology of transcendence into this study and our focus on emotions as being a guide, and essential to this ascension process, excuse me, is this book by Candace Pert, Nasi, called the biology, the molecules rather of emotion, the molecules of emotion.
Yeah, I think I got that too.
You got it, Nasik, because uh, we were
Molecule.
reading we were reading out of this very early on, and I'm going to share it with the family now. You have it, Nasik.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure I got it.
Now you
Yeah.
remember, Nasik. This is what I was telling you. This all grew out of. Oh, a lot of this grew out of the um, the book and the movie, The Secret, and a lot of these.
I think Bruce Lipton refers to Candace Pert too.
Yeah, this is out of this. If you go back and look at the movie The Secret and you read that book, these were a lot of the contributing authors, at least for me, that this led me to Bruce Lipton, Candace Pert, and then Dode, you introduced Joseph Chilton Pierce, and a lot of it, and then like we said, David Hawkins, Power versus Force, and this is the basis. This contains the basis of our science, the
Mm-hmm.
fundamentals of our science. And though we have relatively quickly recovered this stuff, Nasik, and mastered it
Mm-hmm.
in a span of about 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So, Nasik, circling back to this split that took place uh, 2,000 years ago, we said that this idea of Christ was formulated by our forefathers. Wasn't no enemy that did this. Our forefathers strategically and tactically introduced this thing. Why? To keep us within this chaotic uh, fall, this disorderly disintegration and decline and descent. You are with me?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So let me grab this. So let's look at this, take a close up of what happened during that later on, Nasik, during that um, 2,000 year framework, that 2 millennia framework. Are y'all with me?
mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So this is Candace Pert, molecules of emotion. Again, giving a connection to this aspect of emotions, Nasi, that was put before us and put on view recently. How did modern medicine get it so wrong? Indigenous cultures worldwide have long been known to honor the mind body environment connection. That's our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
That's our ancestors. Chinese medicine and Ayurveda systems of medicine, 3,000 to 6,000 years old, still correlate organs and illness with specific mental, emotional states and seek to return the patient to mind, body, spirit balance so that healing occurs organically. This is what we were missing. This is what we were missing, family.
Yes.
We hadn't, it wasn't time to put that together yet.
Yes.
It wasn't time to put that together yet. And Aristotle suggested there was a connection between mood and health when he wrote, Soul and body, I suggest, react sympathetically upon each other. That is the principle of sympathy. that they held. That this is the science of our forefathers, family. So how did Western medicine come to embrace exactly the opposite view? Well, I'll tell you how. One word: our ancestors. Our ancestors. They couldn't allow us access to that information because we had to decline further. We had to bottom out. But they blame it on Rene Descartes, a 17th century French philosopher. I think, therefore I am. And what we've come to refer to as the Cartesian split. Write that down. You all write that down because we're going to not see going forward. We're just going to refer to it as the Cartesian split. And we should all understand what that is and why that is significant. And we don't have to not see keep revisiting it and rereading it and going over it. We should have that in the forefront about that. That should be knowledge to us. The Cartesian split. Descartes needed human bodies for dissecting studies, and he made a deal with the Pope of his era. He wouldn't have anything to do with the soul, the mind, or the emotions, which remained under the church's jurisdiction. Now remember, there was no such thing as a church prior, family, to the creation of this Christ character. Are you all with me?
Yes.
And modern medicine would take the physical body as its domain, thus dividing the human. This is further descent into dualism, thus dividing the human being into two separate parts that were not to overlap. Descartes declared anything to do with the soul, mind, or emotions, leave to the clergy, leave that to the church. I will only claim the realm of the body. The Cartesian split, family.
Mm-hmm.
According to this paradigm, to understand a human being, all one had to do was take the body apart and study the various physical components, as referred to as reductionism. Sir Isaac Newton, the so-called father of modern science, also maintained through his Newtonian construct that only physical matter was real. Now, look at this inversion. The church says that the physical taught us that the physical and matter was evil. The
Mm-hmm.
flesh,
Mm-hmm.
the desires
Yes.
of the flesh.
Right.
So this was a real live split. Only physical matter was real, and that it was all that really mattered, thus locking you into matter and physical and your human aspect exclusively. And so the foundation was laid for the several hundred years of relating health and the curing of disease exclusively to the realm of treating the physical body. This theory is changing slowly. And even today, most modern doctors will ask about physical symptoms and then prescribe drugs I'm sorry. And even today, most modern doctors will ask about physical symptoms and then prescribe drugs and surgery. Using the mind to understand the body is still usually labeled, quote, unscientific, unquote. and mind affecting body, quote, psychosomatic, end quote, and therefore somehow not relevant. How our emotions and thoughts become our physical body. This is the transition, family.
Yeah.
How
Yes.
our emotions and thoughts become our physical body. Peptides and
Mm-hmm.
receptors, the molecules of emotion. Now, this follows on our study of emotions as this dynamic energy, Nasi,
Yeah.
an indicator of what? Our vibratory frequency as it relates to our consciousness level. Now we're going to relate it to what they call the physical body. What exactly is a molecule of emotion? The first component is the one Pert discovered some 30 years ago that launched her scientific career. The complex molecule known as the receptor, and more specifically, the opiate receptor. I'm going to stop right there. Do y'all know what an opiate is?
No, what's an
No.
opiate?
Mm-mm.
Heroin,
Uh-huh. Wow. Wow.
drugs like that.
Yeah.
Opiates, morphine, heroin,
Uh-huh.
what they give you for physical pain.
Uh-huh.
Mm-mm.
Follow me now. Follow me now.
Mm-hmm.
See, our understanding of this is going to give us greater understanding of why they put drugs in our neighborhoods
Mm-hmm.
and why certain things are so addictive to us. She developed a method to measure it and therefore, in a backward sort of way, prove this existence. See, this is what they were invented to do. Now, see, they measure everything. They measure,
Right.
they measure human consciousness.
Yeah.
They map human consciousness. They,
They was trying to get it. They was trying to figure this out.
but they can't figure it out through numbers. Now, see,
They can't figure it out through
Right.
numbers. That's
can't figure it out through numbers.
right.
Can't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
All they can do is put it in a form where we can get it and use it. We
Right.
don't have
Yeah.
to type all these words and do all this research. They did it for us. This is what they were supposed to do. She developed a method to measure it and therefore, in a backwards way, proved its existence. This discovery would explain the mechanism by which such opiates as heroin or morphine create their powerful effect on the body, your awareness, and the emotions. See, this is what they doing. See, our children, family, let me tell you, our children are getting activated now. They are being born in this generation. See, this is going to give us an understanding and cause us to stop being in such opposition to the youth and
Right.
what they manifest.
Yes.
Remember that this Christ energy now see manifests in each age.
Mm-hmm.
Our children and some of our grandchildren, and maybe even great grandchildren, are being born in a different age and era and generation than what we were born in. But we want to conform them, being ignorant, to our age or generation. And this causes
Mm.
a conflict. This causes
Mm-hmm.
a split. This caused
Yes, it.
what's called the what do they call it? The war, the generation split, or what do they call that?
Generation gap.
The generation gap. That's right. It's called the generation gap. Are y'all with me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up our fathers complain about us, and our grandparents complain about us, and
Mm-hmm.
we do the same.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
children, they are energetically calibrated to a different frequency, to
Yes, they are.
be able to embody a different frequency, just like we were. And what and a lot of them now see, they cannot sit still and learn. They
Right.
can't learn
Yes.
the way we did. So what do they do with
Mm-hmm.
these kids? They create something called ADD,
Mm-hmm.
attention deficit, uh, whatever they call that, attention deficit, whatever they
Disorder.
call
ADHD.
it. Yes,
ADHD.
I know what it is. ADHD. And what do? Want to give them Ritalin,
Right.
want to control their emotions, want to slow them down. But they're designed, now see, for higher vibrational frequency.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And we don't see that the same way they during the 60s and 70s was this influx of drugs, opiates, into our
Yeah.
communities. So what?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
To dampen our vibratory frequency.
Yes.
And we turn around and condemn our children the same way. We don't recognize the energetic nature of things.
So, sure down.
Coincidentally, Hurt had a personal experience that had birthed a growing fascination about these substances, caused how these substances cause such a powerful effect on the body, mind, and emotions simultaneously. After a bad fall while horseback riding, pause. This is how most people nowadays get addicted to opiates, and uh, uh, why the opiate, they calling it a crisis now, is a crisis in the white community. They didn't call it
Yes.
a crisis when it was in our community. Nixon
Right.
came out. Look, Nixon came out and declared a war on drugs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in declaring a war on drugs, I mean, we can go back and study that. He knew he was declaring a
Yes.
war on melanated individuals.
Yes.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now these opiates are so powerful that when they get injured in a car injury or a sports injury, and or something like that, horseback riding here, that they prescribe these opiates. And even in war, they've been doing this from, World War II, as far as I know, that when someone
Yeah.
gets,
Mm-hmm.
they got these little packets of morphine, and you get shot or you get shrapnel, you get a leg blown off, but you still alive, they stick you with that morphine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these individuals they come back addicted. She found herself in the hospital being given a morphine derivative. That's that oxycodone, oxytocin, and all that kind of stuff. A morphine derivative. Well, that's actually uh, a heroin derivative, but at this time it was a morphine derivative relative to relieve the pain of a compressed lumbar vertebrae. She marveled at the combination of both pain killing effect and the mental and emotional changes induced by the drug. Follow me, family. Pert,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Pert noted the euphoria and blissful altered state she experienced every time she received an injection. She was getting high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She's so like the opiates, wonderful feeling of being deeply nourished and satisfied that she considered continuing on the drug for her pain when she was relieved. She had become a dope addict.
Yes. Yes.
Although she eventually decided against that option, her intense physical and emotional, and I'm going to add mental experience intrigued her, and she wondered about this overlap of physical and emotional effects from a single drug. I wonder if she wondered about black folk. She ain't mentioned them yet.
All right.
No-
She had to be aware of the drug epidemic. She became a junkie almost.
Yes.
Right.
But see, the other thing that they left out of the medical equation is melanin.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's vital. Now, at this late date, around 2013, 2014, we've shown y'all the documents where they have to include it back in.
Right.
Because family, this is all about us.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It is primarily about us. I can prove it. We have been proving it. Although she eventually decided against the option of becoming a junkie, her intense physical and emotional experience intrigued her, and she wondered about this overlap of physical, mental, and emotional effects from a single drug. In this fascination, she no doubt had a great deal of company. Come on, now they already studied this. Many have wondered how such drugs as heroin, marijuana, Librium, and cocaine are able to create such intense emotional shifts. Now, see, I heard you all talking about earlier. I was really excited, and I knew
Uh,
that the ancestors was involved when y'all was talking about marijuana prior to
right.
the
Right.
situation that had arisen based on
Right.
marijuana prior to us getting on the call today.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Many have wondered how such drugs as heroin, marijuana, Librium, and cocaine were able to create such intense emotional shifts. I'm getting ready to prove my point. They're getting ready to prove my point now that it's about us. This hospital experience would later trigger an interest in proving the existence of the opiate receptor as Pert's doctoral focus. Just a little bit of science, family, okay? Because we don't have to know this now, but let's go back and revisit it because this is going to be essential. We don't have to be experts, Nasi. We just have to know the basis,
Yes.
just
Yes.
the very basics of this stuff. So now remember, when we talked about DNA, Nasi, we talked about control above the gene.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
these receptors are going to follow the same pattern. Stay
Yes,
with,
they are.
stay with me now. Receptors sit on the surface of cells and number in the hundreds and thousands on the average cell. Specialized cells such as neurons stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
might have
Wow.
millions, might have millions of receptors surrounding them. Now, see, millions.
Right. Right.
These receptors, listen, act as tiny scanners and sensors which wait patiently until the exact chemical key comes along that will fit into them, much like a regular key is made to only fit into one specific lock. If you all are thinking with me, you all know that emotions are just chemical in nature.
Yes,
Yep.
all.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So we saw yesterday how emotions are an indicator or a scanner, right? That let you know where you are relative to vibrational frequency and thus your what? Consciousness level. Now see, we switching it back to body and we seeing that these emotions on the molecular level work the same identical way. These receptors act as tiny scanners and sensors or indicators, which wait patiently until the exact chemical key comes along that will fit into them, much like a regular key is made only to only fit into a specific lock. These chemical keys are called ligands, and the most common of these is known as a neuropeptide, accounting for nearly 95% of known ligands. Follow me, family. Perk describes what happens next as quite amazing. The peptide delivers its chemical message to the receptor, which then transmits this message deep within the cell, triggering a chain of biochemical reactions which can create huge changes within the cell of either a positive or negative nature.
Mm-hmm.
Merck calls the peptides the second component of the molecules of emotion. So, yesterday, I'm telling you, look, monitor your emotions moment by moment.
Yes. Yes.
And convert negative emotions into what? Negative or low frequency emotions into high frequency emotions. By what? Imagining that everything, all things that happen, let's go right to this. Here's the quote, family. You must be vigilant in monitoring your emotion. You are the control above the gene. You are the control above the cell.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But you must be vigilant in monitoring your emotions moment to moment. A human can't do this, family, because a human is going to perceive things with human thought and human perception. So whatever happens, he's going to react to it like a human. Not going to do this. You have to monitor your emotions moment to moment, converting
Mm-hmm.
lower frequency or negative emotions into higher frequency or positive emotions. How we do this? By aligning all things in accordance with my divine intent and will. Whatever occurs, family, has occurred. You
Mm-hmm.
can and must always perceive everything as occurring within the framework of, in accordance with, and as a direct result of your divine intent will, knowing and realizing that all things work together for good to them that love God, that love your divine being or your divine
Mm-hmm.
aspect, not your human aspect, but your
Mm-hmm.
divine aspect, to them that are called according to his purpose, to your intent, intention. Do y'all see how this fits in, family?
Absolutely.
The peptide delivers its chemical message to the receptor, which then transmits this message deep within the cell. Don't you understand that DNA works, the RNA and the DNA
Mm-hmm.
work the same way? That the RNA is the messenger, it delivers the
Mm-hmm.
message, the message.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the message that the DNA has is delivered by the RNA, and it affects that it affects you physically. Do
Yes.
y'all get that? So the epigenetics says change the message.
Mm-hmm.
Change the message by the same identical method.
Mm-hmm.
Changing the message. And the message, family, is nonverbal. It's energetic. You are changing the nature of the wave from a low frequency wave to what?
Yes.
High frequency wave. And you're doing it with divine thought and divine perception. The peptide delivers its chemical message to the receptor, which then transmits this message deep within the cell, triggering a change of biochemical reaction, which can create huge changes within the cell of either a positive high frequency or negative low frequency nature. Is it fitting together for you, family?
Absolutely.
PERT calls the peptides the second component of the molecules of emotion. She offers an analogy. The peptides are just the second component. Wonder what the first one is. She offers this analogy. If the cell is the engine that drives all life, and we're talking about physical life, family, then the receptors are the buttons on the control panel of that engine. And a specific peptide is the finger that pushes that button and gets things started. Hurt. So whose finger is it? Is it a human? Is it a human finger, or is it a divine finger
Mm-hmm.
that's running the control panel? Human thought that's directing the finger, or divine thought that's directing the finger? Hurt.
Whatever finger is directing it, going to determine to understand the outcome, huh?
And it's going to determine the health and nature of your body.
Right, right.
Hurt then asked the logical question. If we all have the opiate receptor present on the cells within our bodies, and we do, then must it not follow that our bodies have the ability to make our own endogenous version of morphine?
Hmm. Hmm.
You can self-medicate. You can self-medicate. You don't need no drugs.
Right.
This is not see why our forefathers at a certain point looked down upon the use of drugs, did not prevent them because they knew some people had fallen deeper into disillusion, deeper into the decline, and had to what? Get a little help. You remember the scripture, family, that the God of the Bible said that during this process, now see, we would receive a little help.
Yeah, that's what it said, right?
Our ancestors were not so callous and dispassionate and um, and unfeeling that they did not that they would allow us complete they wouldn't allow us some aspect of our science now see to relieve our suffering
Mm-hmm.
during this process. So the scripture says it this way, and I'm trying to figure out where this is, but I'll search it. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect. Now, this is Daniel 11 and 34. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be hoping or help with a little
Right,
help, with a
right.
little help. But many shall cleave to them with flatteries.
Yeah,
Are you all with me?
yeah. I remember that one.
When we fall, that's exactly what I'm saying. We will be given a little help, just a little, to relieve our, to relieve our suffering a little bit. So we have Pert then asked the logical question: if we all have the opiate receptor present on the cells within our bodies, if we do, then must it not follow that our bodies have the ability to make our own endogenous version of morphine? Why else would these receptors already be present on our cells? Within 3 years, she was proved correct when the natural opiate substance manufactured within the body was discovered and eventually became known as endorphin. Endorphin. Is Yadiel on?
Kane, I'm here.
We talked about this last night when you were talking about physical exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that physical exercise produces what? Endorphins, correct?
Endorphins.
All right.
Absolutely.
I told you we would get back around to this. We will get back
Mm-hmm.
around to this and explain it. It eventually became known as an endorphin. This is why certain people now see become addicted to physical exercise as well.
Right,
Once you get
right.
into it, it becomes addicted. That's not a bad thing. A shortened version of endogenous morphine. Endorphin is a shortened version of endogenous morphine.
Mm-hmm.
The implications in this discovery are profound and suggest that we may, in fact, have a natural pharmakia. Now,
Uh-huh.
do y'all see this word pharmakia?
Right.
Pharmacopoeia. Pharmacopoeia.
Pharmacopoeia. Right.
Excuse me, I got ahead of myself. Pharmacopoeia, family, and I want to make sure that I got the right word. In the New Testament, the word witchcraft
Don't tell me. Don't tell.
is the word pharmakia.
Now, we understand now why in England, why Francis Bacon
Yes, sir.
was so apt on taking care of all those what they call witchcraft, and how they went on this witch hunt and killed up all these women
There you go.
because they were herbalists.
That's right.
We see now. Wow.
It's the word pharmakia. Listen.
Wait a minute. Let me write that down.
G 5331. Pharmakia.
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 Pharmakia. We get the word pharmacy from that.
Number G53.
G 5331. Now see.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what it says. The use or the administering of drugs.
Wow.
Now listen to this. Listen to this. This is the organic aspect of it.
Oh, I see it.
Sorcery, magical arts, often found with idolatry and fostering by it.
Oh, Eitai, I gotta get that. You gotta send that to me tonight. That definition there. Wow. Oh. Wow.
So this is why, family, in 1 Samuel 15:23, we've read this a number of times. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Now,
yes.
Stubbornness as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. Now, you remember that was spoken to Saul.
Yes.
Right.
And he went to see the witch of Endor.
Yes, he did.
They had outlawed the witches, and family, these were just another version of this, are what we call midwives.
Right.
Midwives. And see, well, this is why in this case, this chapter is called the resurrection of Eve in that aspect.
Wow. This is too much. This is too much.
But so witchcraft, family, let's see what it is in the Hebrew. All right. It says in this case, it's actually two words that are used. We'll look at this one first. It's H7081, now see. H7081. And understand they only have three in the whole Bible. There are only three passages that actually have the word witchcraft in them. We saw the first one, which is pharmakia,
right,
which is referring to our natural ability to heal ourselves. So the Hebrew word is kesim. Kesim. Let's see what it says.
Kesim.
Charles H. 7081. Kesim. Kesim.
And it says divination, witchcraft, false prophets, and it's related to H7080, Kasam. You know what this sounds like? Kazam.
Yeah.
The practice of divination to divine. And see that word divine, diviner. This it relates to our divine nature, family. And it literally means prohibited. That's our ancestors. That this would be prohibited. So that
Now, again, Eitai, this is a testimony, family, about the scriptures again. Why would these here terms be outlawed except those are things that our ancestors knew that was what? There that would give us back our relationship to our knowledge of who we were. Those things had to be outlawed, you understand? Other than that, why would the European himself, because he couldn't have known these things.
could not have known it. Now,
He
now
could
see,
not
how
have
many
known
times
these
we got
things.
to prove it? That's clear.
Eitai, hold right there. Let me write that word down. Hold on, wait, 1 second. Don't move.
Okay.
Barmacopeia. Okay.
Natural pharmacopoeia.
Right.
Implications in this discovery are profound and suggest that we see they keep talking this may have, might have, in fact. We know that we have it. This natural pharmacopoeia potential already present within us. Now, I'm telling you all right now, it is related to melanin, to the presence of melanin or absence, your ability to heal yourself. Remember, we did this. Physician, heal thyself. Physician, heal thyself.
Remember what it said in Power Verses 4, and your consciousness reached a level of 600,
There
you
you
can
go.
heal almost anything.
And family, this is what we were saying. Now, see, this is why we said recently, family, that we have to be vigilant right now, and we must stay uh, relative to our vibrational frequency and or consciousness level. That we must be steady between 250 and 350. 250
Yes.
Yeah.
is neutrality. Is neutrality. So we fail to do this a lot of times, Nasi, because we have a intellectual uh, understanding and comprehension of all of the stuff that we've gone through, but we are not monitoring our our emotions on a moment by moment level, and we allow something that somebody says, how they look at us, what happens
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
occurs in this
Mm-hmm.
mundane reality to do what? Shoot us back down into anger, pride, desire, fear, grief, apathy. Y'all feel me?
Yes.
Right.
We can't go. We have to be neutral to that stuff. We have to be Nasi immune to it
Right, Eitai.
and to convert it right away. To
Mm-hmm.
convert those negative thoughts, negative feelings, you know, negative emotions, so-called negative experience. There is no negative experience.
No.
All the experiences at this level, family, at where we are work. I don't care what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is working in accordance with your divine will, with why you came down here in the first place.
Yes.
Don't fool yourself. Don't allow yourself to be fooled and then dragged down into the lower vibratory frequency. Now, see, we got to get crazy with this now. We got to get,
Eitai,
yes,
just one little thing. Years ago, and it's come back to me, I had a lady friend in the 60s, lived in the apartment building I lived in. And her saying was, always let your stumbling block become your stepping stone.
right.
Everything that happens is an opportunity.
That's correct.
So, and we can't let it be a stumbling block. You
Right.
got to turn the stumbling block into a stepping stone.
That's correct.
We remember that. Everything that happens is an opportunity to go where we're supposed to be going now.
That's correct. We are creating everything, family. Nothing happens to you. It happens for you. Everything happens for you.
Yes.
Don't don't just hear me say that. Tell yourself that in real time when real situations come up.
Eitai,
Yes, sir.
I just need to get a reference from you. 1 Samuel 15:23 is the Old Testament of 87081 in respect to witchcraft. Where did G5331 come from? It was New Testament?
Yes, it was Galatians 5 and 20.
Galatians 5:20. Okay.
I'm going to give you the three references, family. We began at Galatians 5:20, where it talked about witchcraft, along with these other negative, aspects. And it was the word G 5331.
Strong's G 5331. Pharmakia.
It's the word
Pharmakia.
pharmakia.
Amakaya.
Pharmakia. And the other two references are 1 Samuel 15 and 23. And that the word translated witchcraft there, Nasik, is H 7081.
Right, right.
Word kesem. Kesem.
Kessim.
Everyone will get this broken down in their notes, trust me. And then in Second Chronicles 33 and 6, the word witchcraft is translated from the Hebrew word, which is H3784, the word kasaf. Kasaf. And I'm just going to let you all know that this word kasaf, it means to whisper a magic spell or enchant, to practice.
We were talking about that one today. That's interesting.
Now, that is, this word kashaf is with the word, it's part of the word that is translated serpent. All right? See, all of this is related, family. It'll all come back full circle when you look at this divinely. And the word is nakash. Nakash.
Right.
All right?
Right.
And when you go to the root, it's going to say to whisper a magic spell.
Right. Right. Right.
Whisper to hiss or whisper a magic spell. I'm telling
That's
you
right.
that this is your divine power.
Right.
Your divine power demonized and made taboo.
Yeah.
I know exactly why it was done. So, getting back to this as we close, we're talking about these endorphins, endogenous morphine. The implications in this discovery are profound and suggest that we may have, in fact, a natural pharmakia. We're not guessing about that. We know that we have it. Listen to what they say, Nasi, that we have a natural pharmakia potential already present within us. The reason why they can't be sure is why we told you. They remove melanin from modern
Yes.
scientific research and study.
Right, right,
They, they,
right,
they geared everything like when they do these experiments, they use white mice
Right.
right.
that
Mm-hmm.
don't have melanin in them. So because they're trying to find a baseline, Nasi, for themselves,
That's what
not
they're
for
trying to
us.
do. Right.
So now they're realizing that we got to include melanin in here. This is why they talk in terms of uh, may suggest, may in fact suggest, perhaps. Nah, if you're a melanated being, this is 100% dead on the money. We
Right.
do have a natural pharmakia, but the reason that you're guessing about it is because you've excluded a key factor, which is us, which is melanin. We have that natural pharmakia. They say perhaps someday, somewhere over the rainbow, we will all be capable of manufacturing our own natural biochemicals at will. I'm telling you all, this is the next step, Nasi.
Yes.
This is the next step for us.
Yeah. Eitai, all of this is a part of the process as we continue our ascension. And the initial stages of it, you've said it numerous times, starts with intermittent fasting.
That's
The initial
correct.
stage, right? You
That
know.
is correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps someday we will all be capable of manufacturing our own natural biochemicals at will, in effect, orchestrating our own healing. Physician, heal thyself. Physician, heal thyself. We had a teaching on that, family. We're going to circle
Yeah.
back to that. We're going to circle back to that. According to Pert, this concept is not as far-fetched as it sounds, and perhaps not so far off either. But the only reason, we're going to go back to the beginning to end, providing you all with evidence and confirmation that we have reached this critical endpoint, family. Um, we read that a positive outcome should have occurred 2 millennia ago, but perhaps the collapse or the fall and chaos at that time weren't thorough enough. We know that 100% as a fact, Nasi. We're not
Yeah.
guessing at that. It was 100% of
Mm-hmm.
a fact. Why, how do you know each time?
Mm-hmm.
My ancestors told me, and I'm telling
Yeah.
it to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
As our history since then has shown, we had even further to sink before a real bottoming out, and this just might be the time. See, they talking about this just might be. I'm telling you all because the ancestors are telling me this is it. This is the time.
Yep. No
This
question.
is the time. And they are putting, family, everything back into our hands.
Mm-hmm.
We've reached that point, family, that we're circling back to that point in Genesis 11,
Yeah.
where we began this critical dive, Nasi, this
Yeah.
the critical aspect of our descent, where the whole earth was one. It was of one language and one speech, and it was said, "Look, anything that we purpose to do, what would not be withheld from us,
Yeah.
Yes.
shall not be restrained from them."
That's right.
So we are circling back to this beginning, to where Krishna shows up, and you are Krishna, you are
Yes.
Christ.
Mm-hmm.
That's what. I mean, you putting everything back into wholeness, into order. All right.
Yes,
So
sir.
at this point, we're going to end right here and ask if there are any questions or comments at this point.